Very good morning to you all out there, and welcome to all our viewers and listeners. We'd like to say good morning to you from the Dream Center in Aurelia Crest in Silvertree Road, the Abaqua Center in Wentworth, and we're reporting from G4J Media Live, and our guest today is Mr. Ricardo Fynn from Australia. Morning, Ricardo.
Morning, Zain. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here this morning. Big thanks to the Abaqua Center, everybody involved with the Abaqua Center, giving me an opportunity. Just a quick correction there. Ricardo Fynn is from Wentworth, who lives in Australia, but from the streets of Wentworth. So thank you, Zain.
Okay, thank you so much for that correction. So we're going to get right down to it, Ricardo. We won't just, you weren't invited here for one particular reason, but as we get into it, you'll unpack everything that that we spoke about prior to the interview. Yeah. So just tell us a little bit about yourself this morning, Ricardo.
Yeah. So Ricardo Fynn grew up in Wentworth. Grew up in the streets up until the age of 27 before immigrated overseas, and I've been living in Australia now for the past maybe 15 years. Lived in New Zealand for about 10 years as well, and an absolute pleasure to be back home. Always love coming back home, and we'll get into that a little bit more about the reasons for this interview. But that's me, born and raised Wentworth boy.
Okay, thank you so much. Ricardo, tell us something. How did this all start? And tell us about the journey, just a little bit.
So we're having a discussion now around an initiative that started in Perth, where the South African community and the wider Australian community came together over a 1-year period and, collected goods and done all these things for us to bless our communities back here in South Africa, in particular Wentworth, and that kind of stuff, So where we started is that we had initially sent over some football gear, maybe 2023. I think it was about 500 kgs of footballing stuff that I sent to Khayelitsha and to a couple of black townships around the Western Cape. When I got back to Australia, myself and a few very, very good friends of mine that are associated with the Manning United Football Club, Wendell Franca and Alan Applegren, we had some meetings and we were discussing the possibility of us doing a similar initiative, but coming back to our coloured communities in the Durban Basin, particularly Wentworth, Sydenham, Greenwood Park, Marion Ridge and Newlands East. And that's where this started. We had a period of probably over a year where we engaged with the South African communities in our areas, not just the South African communities, all communities, letting people know what we were trying to do. And over the period of about 1 year, we collected close to about 20 tons worth of used clothing, which amounted to about 1,000 boxes, which we eventually shipped to South Africa and to Durban to disseminate against various NPOs that I engaged with, the Abaqua being one of those NPOs who was a recipient of that stuff. Other NPOs, and I know they won't mind me saying, NPOs like Ubuntu in the park, some people in Marion Ridge, and also some Greenwood Park and Sydenham NPOs that I had discussions with, where we would give out clothing, toys, computer equipment, books, football gear, and all that kind of equipment. So that's basically that.
So I'm sure on a lot of the listeners and the viewers' mind, they must be thinking, was this just a localized thing of just like expats? Or tell us a little bit about the groups and the people that partnered up with you for this venture.
So everybody's well aware that the South African expat community in Perth is a massive community, and that community comprises of not just coloured community, but just people from all over South Africa. But Perth has got a very, very high concentration of ex-Wentworth residents, ex-Sydenham, ex-Greenwood Park, Newlands, Marion Ridge. Our coloured community in the Perth area is a very, very big community. Part of the social fabric that brings the people together is football. I've been involved in football all of my life as a person that played here in South Africa for numerous clubs, the biggest one being Wentworth Chelsea, and in Perth we've got Manning United Football Club, which the president is Alan Applegren. Wendell Franca has been the ex-vice president of the club, but when you look at Manning is a football club that's been around for more than 40 years in Australia or 40 years in Perth under various banners and various name changes. But everybody that's associated with football on a Sunday afternoon, everybody will go to the grounds, whether it's at Wilson or wherever the boys are playing. You know, they've got juniors, they've got metro teams, they've got seniors, over 35s, over 45s, over 55s, massive squads. Everybody goes out and watch the South African boys. So really when we started, the engagement for us was that we will engage our South African community because we know, having the conversations, that everybody wants to give back to where they're from. And what we pitched and what we sold is, let's collect used clothing, we'll box the used clothing, and I will then start engaging with the NPOs and engaging with the different groups. First of all, what I want to say is that I want to acknowledge that there are hundreds of NPOs that are doing wonderful work all over our communities. But obviously when you're working with people, you can't work with everybody. You've got to choose with who you want to work with, and that was my role in the initiative, is find the NPOs that you want to engage with, have a discussion about how we're going to have this rollout and what we're going to do. So that all started with clothing. But obviously, when we start putting things on our Baldivis pages in Perth, putting stuff on our Rockingham hospital pages and on our different groups, you know, wherever that is, not just the South African people are moved. People are moved with compassion about a group of people who are trying to go back to their communities and do something within their communities. And then we started getting people, Australian people, it didn't matter where people were from, whether it was Russian, UK, Nordic, it doesn't matter where people were from. We were getting calls from everywhere going, can we drop off stuff? How can we get involved? What can we do? So something that started off with our South African community grew to a wider international community where everybody wanted to get involved and everybody, wanted to dig in and bless this initiative.
Wow, what a wonderful initiative, Ricardo. We just want to, elaborate a little bit more on, look how well we do at Ubuntu outside of our borders, outside of South Africa itself. You guys came together in true patriotism as South Africans, and you all got together and initiated something that's grown into, I would say, throughout the world. They came together and started to sponsor you. But let's move on a little bit, Ricardo. Let's speak about the challenges you're currently experiencing here, right at home, on home ground, with some of the sponsors. And I want you to elaborate on the tonnage, the mass, the containers, how big they are, so our viewers and our listeners out there can understand exactly what's happening at the moment with your sponsorships here at South African Customs.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I think in order for me to do that question justice, Zain, I need to maybe start off with maybe all the groups that we engaged with in Australia and how the stuff grew from having a few things in one container to end up having a fully, a 20-foot container completely full and a 40-foot container completely full. So when we started out, I want to say that there are some groups here that are integral to everything that we've done. So we would not be in a position to ship these containers if there was no resources to ship it, if there was nobody fitting the bill to ship it. So when we had started out, one of our initial conversations was with a massive company called Seatram, who are a shipping giant within Australia. And I've got the utmost respect, admiration, and I want to give Seatram their flowers for what they've done. As an Italian company and as a sponsor of Manning United, we sat with the owners of Seatram and we sold them a vision. We sat in a sitting like this around a table, and we said, this is what we want to do. We want to go back to our colored communities where we're from. These are the communities, and it didn't matter whether it was colored, African, Indian. They don't know that. They're just seeing people. And we want to go back to the communities where we are from, and this is what we want to do. After a very, very short meeting, we had the owner of the company have a look at everything we were doing and completely buy into it and say, I love what you're doing, and I'll pay for it. Somebody who's got no connection to South Africa, somebody's got no connection to anything, but having a look at what the intent was of the initiative, of the charity, and saying, I will pay for it. And that's what they done. They paid and they said, we will sort out what needs to happen. And when you all get to Durban, you all can sort out things within your South African government, pay for your vets, and do all the different things that you'll need to do. So, bear in mind that this is going over maybe a 1-year period where my cars in the garage didn't even park in the garage for a year. We had everything outside because the garage was every week filled with people dropping off bags and bags and boxes of everything you can imagine, and clothes. And, you know, my garage represented a garage that was very, very similar to what Wendell's garage looked like, what Veronica Muller's garage and house looked like, and other people. You know, we had our clubhouse where the boys couldn't even use the clubhouse and use the changing facilities because from the, you know, from wall to ceiling and from floor to ceiling, it was boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. You know, so we had no idea. You know, we had three guys that came together between myself, Wendell, and Apples. All we had was a desire. All we had was a vision. All we had was us wanting to make a difference and to do something in our communities. We had no idea about the shipping processes. We had no idea about the logistics of everything. But you know what we had? We had faith that we'll find a way to do what we need to do. We had a belief that it was a big task, but impossible as nothing. And between us and between the wonderful South African communities that we were engaging every week, that were giving up their weekends, that were coming on the weekends to pack and to do the different things, that we'll figure a way how to do things. So eventually when we got to the business end, now we're coming towards the end of last year where we're going to start to ship things, we started, you know, actually having a look at what we had, and we realized that we had a whole lot more than just a 20-foot container is going to take. Now, during that process, I had Gilmore College approach me, and I wasn't allowed to advertise this in Australia about who the people were that gave different things, but I'll say that. Now, I had Gilmore College approach me, and because of our connection with them through hiring out halls and doing the different things, eventually they came and they said to me, we really, really love what you're doing, but is it only clothing that you are taking to South Africa? And at that point, we looked at it and we went, well, you know, what have you all got? What is it you want to have a chat about? And they said, we've got IT. Would you be interested in an IT sponsorship? And immediately I thought, we've got primary schools in our areas, we've got high schools in our areas, we've got NGOs in our areas, we've got all these different groups that don't have IT setups. A simple thing like a desktop or a little computer, you know, in Australia, these are common things. In first world countries, these are common things. Our kids from 4 years old are on PCs. Our kids from 5 years old in their creches and from the first year of school are using laptops or using computers. You can't even go to school without one. It's a very, very common thing. But to put it in perspective, we come to the high schools. I'm sitting here across from Wentworth High School, and I don't know what their situation is, but I can almost guess that they don't have an IT department, that they don't have computers where kids can go. I was at Fairvale yesterday. I can almost guarantee that our high schools, people who are coming to the end of their education or finishing their year 11, year 12, ready to go into the working world, have not had this exposure of using computers. And that was the drive. It was, can we maybe get some computer basic literacy things going? That's where that was born from, and it started. So they went away and I said 100% we were interested, but what I wasn't expecting for them to come back and to say, we've got 200 computers that we want to donate to you. You know, blew my mind. For one, it blew my mind because it's high value stuff. There's 150 desktops and there was maybe, you know, 50 laptops that said, we will give it to you. You know, we will give this to you. One story. A couple of days, went by and I had a call from, you know, a very good friend of mine, John O'Reilly, who I had put a sponsorship proposal through Macron Football. And I put a sponsorship to say, I've been dealing with Macron Football in Italy for the last, maybe 12, 13 years through me being a head coach, me coaching the South African teams in Perth, me being involved in football. I've always dealt with the Macron group. So I went to them and I said to them, what I want to do, in Durban when I'm down is I want to run a tournament with about 200 kids and I want you all to give me the equipment for it. Myself and Alan Applegren Apples, we met with the CEOs in Perth of Macron, we met with the marketing managers, we met with the directors, and we let them know what we wanted to do, and they said, we love what you all want to do. We want you all to be part of our Give Back program. The only thing what we want you all to do is work with our marketing team. We need everything recorded. We need everything videoed. We need lots of photos because we want your kids from your area, your kids from the Woodstock area, kids from Silvertree, kids from K1. We're going to put them on our Italian websites. We're going to put the videos of your tournament on our websites, and you will form part of our Give Back program. So that was really the excitement. The excitement for us was for us to see our little kids that are running around and getting involved in charitable football here on Italian international websites, where kids can go. We were part of this program. So, at the end of it, we were given a massive sponsorship that I'm going to say is about $35,000, about 400,000 Rand worth of brand new Macron equipment. Kits from kids from 5 years old up until seniors, 4XL, 5XL, kits. We had bulk gear in there that we wanted to give to our communities. Every single thing that we had in our containers or that was sponsored, none of it is commercial. You might look at something that goes, that's 300,000, what's it worth? It's worth zero to me because we're giving everything away. Everything in there was for the, it's to give back to our communities. And there's so many other stories that I want to talk about. There's medical groups that got involved with us and said to us, would you be interested in a sponsorship of about 300,000 Rand? We want to give you medicinal stuff. We want to give you, first aid equipment, non-medicinal, but your first aid equipment. We've got pallets of it that we want you to take back to South Africa. Usually we are sending this to the Congo, we're sending it to Sierra Leone, we're sending it to all these places, but if you want to take it, we will give it to you. And these are people that are CEOs, these are people that are high up in these organizations that are expat South Africans. These are CEOs that grew up in Cape Town, that left Cape Town when they were 20, left Cape Town when they were 16, different people that have not, them too, have not abandoned the plight of the community. Them too are looking at our communities going, yes, we're overseas. Yes, we are all living in a place where everybody knows, first world countries, we don't have the social ills that we are still facing within our colored communities here. But people remember, people know what it was like. People know what it is like to have your lights cut. People know what it's like to have no water. People know what it's like to have no food sometimes. But when you are living in a land of milk and honey, it's not the time to forget where you come from. It's a time to look back and go, how can we help? And these are the people that we've been engaged with, the people of Manning, the people of Perth, the people that are looking back to go, how can we get involved? We had fundraising initiatives, where we had fundraisers in Perth, where everybody came through, where we done things at John Dunn, where we done things, at the K2 facility. I don't know what the proper terminology of the new groups are, where, people at the WOW Center were maybe given a little bit of help and given a little bit of this and that. It's because people want to see how can we help, how can we plug back in, and that's really where we ended up, from something just being clothing, from it blowing out to being clothing, to being linen. I had a hotel call me up and say to me, they work with a place called Rua House who does gender-based violence and stuff. Call me up to go, are you interested in some blankets and some, things to give back to the communities? And at this point, we were starting to take all these different things. And I thought to myself, give him a call him up and go, I'm in the area, I'll come through and see you all. And she said, what are you driving? I said, I'm in my ute, 4x4. Come through the 4x4. She says, you need a truck to come through. That's how much stuff that were there. And this is what we were doing. Every weekend, we were hiring trucks, or through, the consulting that I do through various business, we were getting trucks from business that were giving us the trucks, not hiring us, giving it to us to go, you need a truck, take a truck, you need a driver. I had my dad driving a truck. I had people driving trucks. We had people from the community doing day jobs, but at night coming to our houses and pack up. We had people that work in places that are storage facilities, where we were getting storage facilities to put all the stuff in, to get boxes, to get this. When you look at the journey, now we're looking at 1,000 boxes that are sitting at Grindrod here in Jacob that have been there for 6 months. But when we look at the journey, we've had so many people walk so many miles to help and to do something special. And that's really, where we started off, with this. And even, like myself, I'm a football man. I've been a football man since 5 years old. I played for teams since I was 5 years old in this community. I've kicked a ball since I was 5 up until 50, very, very poorly in the latter stages of my life, I'll admit, but everything to me started off around how can we encourage our children through football, through sport, because sports is something that saved my life. We've all grown up in very, very rough communities where someone's gone left, someone's gone right. We've still got friends that are serving life sentences in prison. We were in school together. We were, even as a member of the police, I've got people in the police that I worked with, and the different things, you know, the communities that where we're from. You take one wrong turn and your life's over. You get into the wrong car, you get caught up. You sit in the wrong company, you get caught up. And this for me has always been in the center of my heart as how can we make sure that our kids know that they've got potential. We've got, you know, we're not angels. We come from communities where none of us are angels. Everybody's been around the wrong things. But we thank God that God's hand has been on our lives, that we're still here today. There are people that haven't lived to tell the story, but we're here to tell the story. And we're here to make sure that our kids can see living examples of people that have come out of the hardest environments that can make something of themselves, that can make a life for themselves. You know, we talk about the environment. I was sharing earlier, this is through football what we've managed to do, is to show kids that the environment that we're in is not the deciding factor. Because the potato and the egg go into the same boiling hot water, but the potato comes out soft and the egg comes out hard. It's because of the ingredients inside, it's the properties inside that will be the determining factor. And we use football as this tool. We use football as this tool to show kids that through football we can learn life's lessons. We can learn how to disagree in football. We can learn how to argue in football. We can learn how to still respect each other. We can learn how to lose. We can learn disappointment, but we can learn to get up from there, being knocked down 10 times, and get up 10 times and keep on going. And that's where my focus has always been. But through working with some people like Wendell and Apples, who form part of our leadership team of this initiative, looked at it and had a bigger vision and said, we're all football people, but let's look further than football. We've got people going to school without food. We've got people going to school without tracksuits. We've got people that don't have uniforms. We've got families that don't have this. We've got communities that are in such need of help. How can we make a difference? So it's grown from football to just everything. How can we get the aid to our people, you know? And, you know, you look at, we were thinking one container, and we end up with 2 containers. And the beautiful part of it all is that, yes, the resourcing doubled before we even sent this. And I'm spending a lot of time talking about the effort, because the effort's part of the story. We're not just talking about 1,000 boxes of clothing and computers and equipment that are sitting in Jacobs. We can walk to Jacobs from where we're sitting, but for 5 months it's sitting there in boxes, being packed, unpacked by all the government departments that are scrutinizing everything, when we are saying all we're trying to do is to help our communities. That's all we're trying to do. We had to go back to CTRAM, who were the company that helps us in Australia, and we said to them that what you'll pledge to help us deliver, it's going to double that, because now we've got 2 containers. They never even flinched. It wasn't even a conversation longer than 2-3 minutes. They said, no problem, we'll do it, we'll pay it. 1 container, now we've got 2 containers. And everything gets shipped, sitting now back in Durban. And that's, Zane, really, you know, where we started and where we had finished off.
Yeah, Ricardo, I can imagine after all the hard work you guys put in, and thank you so much to all the groups you work with and your sponsors from Australia that you mentioned. I'm sure our communities will be grateful for what you guys are doing for us. But let's discuss some of the issues surrounding this matter, and also where are you all right now with this initiative?
So to take it back, like, you know, the major issue that we had was that we got the notification. The containers landed in Durban on the 18th of December last year. We got a notification about a day later from a clearing agent to say that we've got issues with the used clothing. And the issue with the used clothing is that the South African government have declared that it is prohibited to bring in used clothing into South Africa, which was the first time that we heard of this. So, for one, why that was shocking for me was that not even a year ago, like I started off saying, is that I had sent stuff to Khayelitsha, to Hermanus, to George, not even a year ago, of used clothing, kids' tracksuits, and I had no issues with that being sent to the townships that I was sending it to. So, for us, it was like, why is this an issue? Used clothing is an issue, and we weren't understanding the extent of it all. So, you know, what we were imagining was we need to maybe there's a permit that we haven't done, and yes, the computers required permits, which we weren't aware of, and you know, we had to get the permits and everything involved for the computers. But the major issue was that 70% of the cargo that we shipped, shifted here, or let's say between 13 to 15 ton is used clothing. And the used clothing for our communities, clothing for babies, children, boys, girls, men, women, everybody is sitting in boxes with SARS saying you're not allowed to bring this into the country. So we had to go through an exercise now where we had to get an explanation and find out why can't we get this into the country? Do we need a permit to get it into the country? And the answer from them was no. You don't need a permit because it's not allowed. So we went through the process with the government departments that we were dealing with. First it was SARS, it was the revenue people. Then it was the customs people as well. Another department called the NCRS who deals with, they used to be the old standards department. Because there's electrical gear in there, there's computers, we had to deal with them for the permits, understandable. And then ITEC, who's your international trade department. So all these 4 different departments, for us, it was pillar to post. One department saying this, another department saying this, for us understanding. You know, we done motivation letters to show them that we are connected with the Abaqa. You know, we are working with this organization that's got all the Section 18s, that's got all the NPO statuses, all the things that they need as an organization, legitimate organizations. The same as Ubuntu in the park. We had all the information from, you know, from Lawrence and from Anne and the people that I've been engaging with, that's given all the documentation that we provided to go, here are all the NPOs we are dealing with. What we are doing here is not, we haven't just decided to put things on a container. We've been for 18 months, we've been dealing with our groups, with what we want to do, you know? So, unless we can get past the issue of this clothing, we reach a situation where it just became a situation where SARS told us they're going to take the stuff off us. They wanted to forfeit it. And for me, the injustice here comes into it, because when all the meetings that I had with them is to explain to me, if you want to forfeit this, what happens to it? And here's the explanation, is if SARS take it, it goes into State's warehouse. It goes under their control in the thing that they run that's called State warehouse. And talking to them was like, what do you all then do with it? They've got the discretionary power as a group to then distribute it to NPOs of their choosing. So if we want to understand this now, my NPOs within the Wentworth, Sydenham, Newlands, Greenwood Park areas, I can't distribute this clothing because clothing's not allowed. But let's move past that point. Now that the clothing's here, you can take it off me, and then you can distribute it to NPOs who you think's fit. So, you know, in all that stuff, I don't see this. I don't see the sense in it. I don't see the fairness in it. I see it, to be very, very blunt, I see it as another way of people manipulating the systems, manipulating, you know, all the processes involved to do what they want to do. So I was asked, can you sign this stuff over and we'll forfeit it? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that, because what we want to do is we want to go through the process, and if we can't get it back, we will ship this back to Australia, and we will give this to NPOs who deserve the stuff. And I'm not saying that anybody doesn't deserve stuff, but what I'm saying is that we don't want our arms to be twisted and you to decide where stuff must go when we've had a dream, we've had a vision of where we want this equipment to go and our goods to go. You know, so that's really where we are. So currently where we're standing now, all of the permits, we went through a process with ITEC where we've got permits for our computers, all that we've got. All this documentation that I've got on the table here is all printed off. Everything is on email, every conversation, everything is there. So there's no conversations that I had in the dark. Everything that we've done, I believe in the justice system. I've come from in 20 years in that system. I have worked in the police internationally and within South Africa. And I believe that the processes are there to protect us. We've got to use those processes to make sure that we don't bypass things that are there for a reason. So I don't want to bypass, and I don't want to jump past processes that SARS and our government say are there to protect us. I 100% understand that, and we follow those processes. Every permit they say that you need, we've applied for it. Every dispensation that they say that you need, we've made a dispensation. We've put a case forward. We've put the documentation forward. And we've shown people that, yes, if we've made a mistake, I pick my hand up and I'll go, we've made a mistake. There's certain things that maybe we've done here, like the clothing. How are we supposed to know that that's against the law when we've engaged agents in South Africa who haven't flagged that? When I have sent things before, that's gone to its recipients. I can show you photos now of my teams in Khayelitsha. I talk to them on a weekly basis of teams that we sponsor. I can show you teams, women's teams, men's teams that have never owned a kit, that have reached out to me just through Facebook to go, Coach, can you help? And 100% my heart's been moved, and I've said, yes, I want to help. and I want to get involved, I can show you every week of kids that come from Australia that people are playing with in Khayelitsha. So if we've had no issue doing that a year ago, what's going to tell us that we are sending all the stuff to Wentworth and to Sydenham, to Greenwood Park, and we're going to have an issue? Nothing. And that's what we've put forward in a case to show people is why you have a process where people can put a case forward is even if people have made a mistake in good faith, let's review it. Let's have a look at what they are trying to do, and let's have a look at the impacts of what they are doing, because the impacts are huge. You walk in any of our colored communities, there's poverty. You can smell the poverty. You can see the poverty. You can see dilapidated buildings. You can see children that are walking around that don't have the social programs, that don't have the after-school programs, the before-school programs, people that don't have the things. And that's what this is for. We're going at these, the intended recipients of these things are the children in this community, in these communities that we are trying to help, you know. So where we're standing now, 30% of those containers are ready for release. 70%, they do not want to come into the community. And we've put this to them to go, please, if we have made a mistake, give us a dispensation. Make a decision in our favor. I've got an invitation that came back from ITAC from Mr. Gift, Ingabande, and forgiveness, Mr. Gift, if I butchered your last name, I think that's how you say it, you know. I've had invitations to go, we're going to give you an invitation to plead for leniency. And when somebody's saying that to you, I'm thinking we're in the game here, because they're telling us that maybe we'll consider it. And I've gone back, you can have a look there, I've printed it all off there, you can read through everything. We've shown them. There have been thousands of people that have come together to do something good. This story, if this story doesn't warm your heart, I can only come to the conclusion that you do not have a heart. Because who doesn't want to see kids that don't have stuff benefit? You know, who doesn't want to see, you know, kids that don't have access to IT and to computers now have a place where after school they can come here to the Abercrombie and there's 20 computers set up there. They can go to places like the bike park in K1 where there's 10 computers, 5 computers set up. They can go after school and do something. In the homes that we come from, we don't have kids that have all got a safe space to come and sit and to do homework. This is the realities, you know. We don't want to be negative, but we want to be realistic. Is that we want to create centers where kids can thrive. We want to create safe spaces where if you come from a place where mom and dad are arguing, if you don't have lights in your house, you can come straight out of school and you can come and sit in front of a computer for a half an hour, do your assignment, do your homework. There's a printer, we've got internet, you can print off your assignment, you can do something. This is the culture that we're trying to cultivate. This is where we're trying to move our communities for. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it? If we don't have people like me and people like other people that are doing these things overseas, who's going to do it?
So
who's going to do it?
Ricardo, a quick one because of time constraint, man. So who are all the intended recipients for these donations?
5 communities, and I'm going to break this down very, very quickly. 5 communities: Wentworth, Sydenham, Newlands, Greenwood Park, Marion Ridge. There are NPOs in every one of those areas, and a couple in some that I've engaged with, that I've said once we get all this going, we're going to get this to the community. In Wentworth, I've been dealing largely, the main group I've been dealing with is the Abercrombie, because we've gone through the process where we had to fight certain things, and I've come on board. I've spoken to Paramount Jason. I've spoken to the leadership of this group to go, I want to help you all. We have done things here in the past where we have tried to help in our community and different things. And I believe, you know, that it's not just the Abercrombie that's a recipient from Wentworth. The hope and the dream is that we will filter this through to other areas in the district. But it's like I started off saying, is that I've had conversations with, you know, even Mrs. Chowdhury that runs the bike park down there, because she was in Australia and I took her around and we had some conversations. So there's many people that I've spoken to. You know, there are people like the K2 facility, the mental health facility, where we've got boxes and boxes of linen, blankets, pots, pans, and different things that the Australian people have asked us, can we put this aside? You know, can we do this for that area? There's people like, you know, that are doing stuff, you know, I don't just want to mention people's names that I haven't spoken to that are working like with AIDS and with you know, like the medical side of things, that we have, you know, made pledges to say we will help you do different things. There's Ubuntu in the park. that I've spoken largely with, and not just them, but ask them to be the hand that filters it down to different Newlands groups and to do the different things, you know. So these are the 5 communities, and, you know, I get this question all the time, and people ask me that, people say to me, whenever I'm doing something, I never ever hide it, it's always went to it. You know why? I'm a son of the soil here. I've come from these streets. I run football tournaments almost every year. I engage with people every second year. I'm back home here. Whenever I'm down here, we try to do things. We try to uplift, and we try to do small things, little things we try to do. You know why? It's because I understand this environment. I understand the challenges that's from here. So it's not just the Wentworth community or the Newlands or the Sydney or the Greenwood Park communities that we want to support, but we're saying to people, if you want to support your communities, you come stand next to me and I'll help you. You know, I've had people from Cape Town go, can we take this to Mitchell's Plain? 100%. Can we take it to Esterrivier? 100%. Can we go to Woodstock? 100%. Because I've got family there. I've got friends there. I've got people there. So if you are from an area, what your job is as a son of that soil is to make sure you want to give back to your area. We will partner with you. We will engage with you. We will do sponsorship with you. We will get the things for you. And we will go to your communities, you know. So I've said before, I've sponsored black teams. I'll say it now on Salim United that play in the ABC Motsepa. I've sponsored them. I've sponsored different teams in Hermanus and women's teams, Salim United, kids teams. I haven't met them. I only know them because I've got a big mouth on Facebook and everybody knows me. Sorry, Zain. Everybody knows me through Facebook. I've had random messages to say, Coach, you don't know me, but this is what I'm doing. Can you help? You know? So it's not just our colored communities. Everybody, we want to move away from that. We want to move to our human race. How can we help humanity? You know? How can we help humanity? Me, I come from Chatswood. I spent 10 years in Chatswood Police Station, Bayview Police Station, Montclair Police Station, Isipingo Police Station. So it's not just the colored communities, but where I always start is where I'm from, you know? So we want to help, and we want people to get involved, but we want to engage in the communities. So each one, where you from, stand up and stop just talking and banging your gums. Stand up and let's go and do things.
Ricardo, thank you. So, just before we wrap it up, listeners and viewers, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Mr. Abrams. Thank you, young man, Dylan. Right? Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor. Ricardo, just a quick one in closing. I'd like you to, when you take a drive, and I'm sure that you've been driving to the community, and you left our community 27 years ago, has anything changed? You know, I don't want to talk about politics. I'm just, from your heart, you left here 27 years ago. Have you seen anything that's changed in our community? You know, are you happy about the things you see, or improve in terms of improvement?
Look, what I will say is that I am apolitical, right? So there's no parties, and there's no particular parties that I ascribe to and all that, you know, kind of stuff. But what I see a lot of people trying to make a change and make a difference. But for some reason, when you go around, I don't think that things have improved. I think they've gotten worse over the last 2 decades. I see buildings that are derelict. I see buildings that are abandoned. I see infrastructure that sports fields that there's been nothing done. So if you tell me, I see schools that are falling apart. I see, you know, you can talk about the crime, the violence. We all know. Like I was here two years ago when we ran tournaments down in on Ogle Road where they were shooting a couple of minutes away. They were shooting all over at the time. So, you know, it's unfair of me to make a definitive statement around it. But for me, this is a very, very personal thing. No, things have not improved. No, things have not gotten better. How are things going to get better? For me, is only when there's collaboration. Is when everybody, look, political affiliation is not a new thing. You can look in any parts of the world. You are free. We live in a democracy. You are free to ascribe to whoever you want to ascribe to and whatever political party you want to put your hat to. But at the end of the day, all of our political parties need to come together for the betterment of the community and to go, how are we going to improve the community? So whether you, the DA, and I've got friends that are in the DA, whether you're the PA, I've got very, very good friends who are in the PA, whether you are Triple C, whether you are Mkonto, whether you whatever, I've got friends that are in all those parties. But what we need to do is to put self-interest behind us, because far too long, that's been the problem, is that we've had people in positions that have used their positions for their betterment and for whatever they want to get out of it. But where are the legacy things? What can we look back at? Ogle Road, I played there with Chelsea 25 years ago, 35 years ago. We still don't have a change room that's got water in it. We still don't have a change room that people can go in there and change with dignity. Why don't we have those things? Why don't we have fields that are maintained? Why don't we have all those things? Those are questions that I can't answer in a 5-minute conversation. But it's for the people that are elected into the different positions of power in the community to come together, to collaborate, to put self-interest behind us and start looking at the interests of the kids. We have generational talent here that has not been utilized. 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We can go back however far we want to go. But what's going to happen? I'm 50 years now. In 20 years' time, we'll do another interview. And we'll have a look at the same community with not a new building in it. Why? You know? We need to come together as a community. And that's what Ubuntu's about. We need to come together as a community. And we need to make sure that the kids that are coming tomorrow, we've got grandchildren that are coming. You know? We've got children that are in primary school. What's going to be the legacy? In 20 years' time, we might not be here. In 30 years' time, we might not be here. But what are we going to leave behind for the people to say that we have tried to do something and we have succeeded? Yeah. So, without offending any political parties, I want to say that there's work to be done. There's work to be done.
Okay, thank you, Ricardo. Thank you so much for choosing us to do this interview with you this morning. And that's all from us from G4J Media.
Please, and one more thing. One more thing. I should have mentioned this. We've got all our equipment and we've got all the things that's ready to be released. But now we've got a bill of R1 million. Because we've had our stuff sitting there while SARS, while Customs, while the NCRS, while ITAC, while everybody has been deciding what needs to be done. We've had 5 months of our containers sitting in Jacobs. And now the international ship line, Hapag-Lloyd, have sent a bill of R1 million to pay. R1 million to pay before we can get our containers out and send to the community. We do not have R1 million to pay. If we had R1 million cash, we would not be paying for second-hand clothing. We'd be putting brand new computers in all of our schools in our areas. We'd be using that money to build stuff. We'd be using that money to improve buildings and to do all that stuff. Yeah. So that's where we are. The challenge for us now is to get our community together and to get the people together and to go, we want that waived. We don't want to pay. We're not even asking for a reduction. Now we're asking them to waive it. For companies that make trillions of dollars every single year, we are asking people to have a look at why we've done this, why we're in the circumstance. It's not a normal circumstance. You've got 5 days to clear a shipping container. We've been sitting there for more than 5 months where people have sent us invoices. Yeah, invoices in front of us. That's more than 10,000 rand a day. 10,000 rand a day. Every single day for 5 months, there's R1 million bill. And we want that to be waived. We want the community to come together and to go, we've tried our best to do whatever we've done. If we've made mistakes, I'll be the first one to pick my hand up and go, all the mistakes we've said we've made, put that on me, Ricardo, Fynn. I've made all those mistakes. Let's move past that now. And let's get all these things to our children. Thank you, Zain. Sorry to hijack.
No problem. Thank you, Ricardo. Fynn. Well, yes, our community, there's 1 million reasons why we should come together now and decide what we're going to do to recover our stuff that Ricardo and his partners have brought to our communities. Thank you. G4J out.